I'm back up in the fool. With my family, coolin', we can fool. Everybody getting money.
Peace be to Reeno family. It's another episode of Decoded Depths with your boy Reeno the Street Sage, here to decode life and spirit through laughs and lessons. Finally got that shit. God damn. Any motherfucking way, because I finally got through that shit. The topic of motherfucking today is goddamn psychosis versus spiritual ascension. Okay? Now, these are two very motherfucking similar things that can have two very goddamn different outcomes. Okay? One of the motherfuckers leave your ass to a goddamn higher power, and the other one gonna lead your ass goddamn to a higher institution, okay? Because they finna dope your ass up, put your ass in a straight jacket, and you will never see your friends or family again, okay? Goddamn it. Part of this discussion today, okay? If you have not seen that new Tyler Perry movie, I don't forgot the name of the shit, just that Straw, okay? If you haven't seen that movie, this is probably not the video for you, okay? Because the bitch was going through some shit, okay? So I gotta explain that shit into this, but the most important thing that we're gonna talk about is psychosis versus spiritual ascension. I decided to change the name a little piece. You feel me? I went over this a couple of times, from psychosis to mental illness, from spiritual awakening to spiritual ascension, and the best two definitions that I could come to sum the two, you feel me, was psychosis and spiritual ascension. That being said, today we're gonna go over what spiritual ascension is. We're going to go over what psychosis is, and we're also going to talk about, like, the factors that are kind of blur the line between the two. Okay. I feel like we should do psychosis first, and then go over spiritual awakening, because spiritual awakening, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, for people who have not gone through a spiritual awakening, it might not make that much sense to you. So, without further ado, let me spark my do, and we can get into this. Now, I will let y'all know, you feel me? Obviously, from the intro, you feel me? This is a little different for me, because instead of doing a more natural style, I'm trying to get a little bit more accustomed into the, you feel me, the professional aspect of it, the hoopla. So I do got my phone with me for a couple of notes, just so certain things I don't forget, because, this is more of an informative video. So I got to make sure I get all my ones and twos in, you feel me, to get the most impact of information, because, we're not having this conversation face to face, we having this conversation via you listening to what the fuck I'm telling you. So I gotta make sure I put down everything that you might have to ask. You feel me? Like, goddamn. Feel me? Yeah, but you feel me? Today's conversation, psychosis versus goddamn spiritual ascension. You feel me? Quick breakdown on psychosis, you feel me? It's not actually a disease or anything like that, you feel me? Like most people think, psychosis is actually a symptom of symptoms. Think about psychosis like a fever. A fever can come with the flu. A fever can come with teething. A fever can come with an allergic reaction. But a fever itself is a collection of symptoms: high temperatures, possibly vomiting, possibly fatigue, that describe this overall symptom. But the overall symptom, i.e. a fever, can be accompanied with multiple diseases, right? So psychosis is the same way, because you can get psychosis from depression, you can get psychosis from trauma, you could get psychosis from any other mental illnesses, schizophrenia, stuff like that. You could get it from a heap of shit. You feel me? But like I said, it's just it's a symptom that describes other symptoms. You feel me? Typically, you feel me, it's treated with some type of, like, depending on what the disease is that is causing the psychosis, it's treated with some type of psychotropic. Okay, you feel me? If you're depressed, they're gonna give you an antidepressant. It should make the psychosis go away, the hallucinations, delusional, you feel me, the speaking out of context, all of that stuff. It'll make those type of things to bring you back into reality. You feel me? But for the most part, like, you feel me, I know, like, me, you feel me, when I had my little, you feel me, whatever episode or whatever with Psychosis, like, how that went was I started having these random thoughts, you feel me, that I ain't like, you feel me, like, it wouldn't be bad, like, to kill yourself if you did it like this way, like, you feel me, like, if you look like type shit, like, okay, to give y'all a real life example, you feel me, like, how could you possibly take out a life insurance policy on yourself and then off yourself, so you offing yourself becomes a come up for the people around you that actually want to keep living type shit, you feel me, like, I wasn't being like, you feel me, like, oh, I want to kill myself, like, no, I'm tired of this shit, but if I'm finna do this shit, they finna be straight, you feel me, type shit. Nevertheless, I didn't like the thoughts, okay, so because I didn't like the thoughts, I decided to go to my mama, and then my mama was kind of like, well, like, we ain't really got no high for this. So the best thing we probably can do is get you Baker acting. So I was kind of like one of those things. If I can voluntarily do it, I'll do it. But y'all ain't just gonna get me stuck in that motherfucker. Nevertheless, I wound up going to I went to our local hospital, Longwood. You feel me? To under a Baker Act. You feel me? And in there, mind you, this was like 5-6 years ago, y'all. Like, yeah, I'm good now. But while I was in there, I wind up like internalizing it, you feel me? I wind up running into, like, if I was to continue on the path of where I was going, you feel me, as far as like trying to go through treatments and shit like that, because I had a whole method to this shit, okay? I was paired in a room with a person who had went through the same path that I was trying to go down. And after I looked at what the fuck he was going through, I said, no, this ain't the path for me no more. Doctor, I no longer have the desire to hurt myself. I never had the desire to hurt myself, but I no longer have the desire to hurt myself. And let me go home. Let me go home. I spent like 24 hours in the psych ward sector of our hospital, and I knew that shit was not fucking for me, okay? I deal with my thoughts how I deal with my thoughts, but I'm not dealing with y'all dealing with my thoughts for me, because that shit was just out of the fucking, yeah. But psychosis, that's what psychosis is, you feel me? It's basically just this it's a mental detachment from the world, you feel me, but like it's not like it's similar to a spiritual awakening and or a spiritual ascension, but it's not quite the same, because it's a little bit more like unconstructive. And the best way to get you to understand that is by continuing on to explain spiritual ascension in itself. Spiritual ascension, spiritual awakening, but this one can go over to spiritual ascension, is basically, you feel me, that moment where you start to realize, okay, there's more to life than what people have been just, you feel me, putting on my plate. You feel me? Like, it's more to life than just working a 9 to 5. It's more than life than what I can see in front of me. It's more than life than making money. It's more than life than this religion that y'all threw on me. It's more than life than any other religion that you could throw on me. Like, you feel me? It's that upper awareness. Like, there's more to this. It's that oneness factor. Like, there's no differentiation between me and this bug that's crawling across my foot, or these trees that are giving me oxygen, like that, we're all one and the same, you feel me? It's that coming together aspect of there's no separation. Even though we can separate, there is no separation, because without them there could be no me. Without me there could be no them, you feel me, type of ordeal. And for me, what caused my spiritual awakening was the understanding that time didn't exist, okay? When I came to the conclusion that time is a unit of measurement and not like something that is just like, we got 2 more hours left till we go home. Like, no, like, nigga, we got 2 more hours left till we go home. I bet. I know I can get lost in these dishes, so if I go and do these dishes real quick, by the time I finish these dishes, nigga, it's gonna be time to go home. Type shit, you feel me? Like, you start to melt away the aspect of just, you feel me, like paying attention to, but at least that's how it was for me, you feel me? And that was just the beginning of the iceberg, because from there, you feel me, it's just like, okay, well, if time don't exist, then that means that, because I was raised to be a Christian, so you feel me, when I realized the fact that time don't exist, then realistically, Jesus didn't exist then, because he could exist right now. When if everything existed at the same time, that means that nigga, I could be Jesus, because Jesus is here right now. Okay, you know what? This raises too many questions. I don't believe no more. That's how I became a non-believer. You feel me? Because typically that's just what it come with. You feel me? When you stop believing in certain things, you feel me? Like that's just what the fuck it come with. Spiritual awakening, part of that is shedding religion, at least the ego aspect of religion. You feel me? Like, yeah, it's just, and that's kind of like, I guess that's another big aspect of spiritual awakening too, is the ego death. You feel me? You gonna go through that phase where it's like, the person that I used to be yesterday is no longer here. You feel me? I killed that nigga. Why? Because it was necessary. Like, I had to do that. It was a necessary, you feel me? It was a never necessary good to kill that evil. You feel me? Like, it's just one of those things that has to be done. But as you can see, there's like a very like thin line between the two. Why? Because some of the things that a spiritual person will say sounds a little bit almost like something that a person undergoing psychosis would say, solely because it seems like it's out there. You feel me? For instance, like in the movie Straw, when you started to realize that something wasn't quite right with the lady, I think her name was Janiyah, right? Janiyah. Okay, you started to realize that something wasn't quite right with her when she's sitting there going through the motions with the bank. You feel me? Like, yeah, we all understand. Like, she was like, she feel me? She just kind of took some shit out of proportion that was like, you feel me, unrealistic. But she's sitting there like, oh, my baby. I can't let him kill me because I gotta get back to my baby. But the whole time, what she was actually trying to get across was, the reason that I'm in this predicament is because I snapped because of my fucking baby. Like, you feel me? Like, she that was her inner spirit trying to talk to the psychosis side, you feel me? And get her to understand how she even ended up in the situation that she was in the fucking first place, okay? Yeah, my blunt went up. And the crazy thing is, okay, in both of these situations, like I was saying, in both of these situations, you have to have a doctor of sorts. You feel me? And I say of sorts because with psychosis, you literally gonna have a fucking doctor and a therapist. The doctor, realistically, a doctor and a therapist is kind of the same thing, but you're going to have a doctor to prescribe you medicine because of the legal aspect, and a therapist to ensure that that medicine is working. Because you can't just go into somebody's body and see if they're not depressed no more. They have to tell you certain things to make you conclude that they're not depressed no more. It's the same thing with spiritual ascension, because you ask me, the lady in Straw was going through both of them at the same time. That's the crazy thing about it. She was undergoing psychosis at the same time she was going through a spiritual ascension. It just all depends on how the fuck you want to look at that shit. Because she did overcome a spiritual boundary after, you feel me, walking through that situation. Why? Because she was in such traumatic state that she was able to convince herself that her child was still alive. Like, you still have to like think about that. She got her child dressed, woke her up, got her dressed, and took her to school, but her child was already dead. You have to seriously comprehend how powerful your mind is, how powerful her mind is to convince her that something she watched happen did not happen. That's the spiritual ascension side of that. You feel me? Now, the psychotic side of that, or the psychosis aspect of it, is the factor of you actually continue living your life as if your daughter wasn't unalive. And then on top of that, you proceeded to like actually do acts on it. Because the whole purpose of her accidentally robbing the bank was the factor of, I'm trying to get this $40 for my baby, but your baby was already gone. That's where the psychosis and the spirituality start to blur. You feel me? Because the spiritual aspect of it is you can walk through your day normally and still produce fruit as if your daughter is here, but she's not there. Spiritually speaking, nigga, you're strong. Nigga, you equipped. Nigga, I could go through a death and I could bounce off of that. But then you have that psychosis side was where do you stop and say, okay, I understand that I had to do that for that reason, but now that reason is no longer suffice. You feel me? Because now you're going in here and you're doing immoral acts, because she was just trying to get her check, people. But she was doing immoral acts, you feel me, to get optimal outcome. You feel me? But keep going out. Nevertheless, you feel me? That's kind of the best way that I can put, you feel me, that blurred line aspect of it, you feel me? It's I mean, when you really consider it, it's almost like two edges of the same fucking sword. Like, you feel me? Like the speaking out of context, um, 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 delusional, being delusional, you feel me? Then you have the added aspects of hallucinations, you feel me? All of that, like when you compare both sides of the spectrum, psychosis and spiritual ascensions, they both come with that. Because even when you really think of life synchronicities, is basically the same thing. It's more of a perception, which is a controlled hallucination, rather than a hallucination, which is an uncontrolled perception. You feel me? It's two sides of the same token. You feel me? When you're going through a spiritual awakening, you're still in tune with everybody else, so you can agree to disagree on certain things. When you're going through psychosis, you're in tune more so with yourself rather than everybody else. Why? Because you're not affected by what everybody else is doing, because you too busy focused on what you're doing. And it becomes an epic balancing game, and that's really what it boils down to. Either way, it's just imbalance. You feel me? It's all just a forms of imbalance, and to fix those imbalances, you have to find balance. And like I was saying, I did get sidetracked there. Like I was saying, it requires some way, shape, or form of a teacher. Now, modern doctrinism, I don't really, you feel me, agree with, but if you're an in tune person, it will work. However, in her case, she didn't have a modern doctor, but what she did have was a spiritually ascended person. You feel? I ain't even gonna say spiritual, because she could have been a very physical person. But one thing she did understood is your baby's dead, and I can't just tell you your baby's dead. Why can't I just tell you your baby's dead? Because if I tell you your baby's dead, then you might make all of us like your fucking baby at this point. You feel me? Then on top of that, you feel me? Because I'm trying to help you make it out of this alive, the only way that I can do that is to ride this wave with you until you realize that your baby's dead. You feel me? But in that, she was her guide. You feel me? She helped her, the bank teller lady. She was the one who helped her walk through that situation and come out of it on the other side. Like, okay, you feel me? I might have done this, that, and the third, but it could have been a lot worse. You feel me? I couldn't have been here. You feel me? Like, at least I could still, I could still step. Now in her situation, I ain't even gonna lie to you. Some things I just can't see the other side of it. You feel me? At this point, I don't want to see the other side of it. But for my purpose today, the point that I'm trying to make is, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you snapping into in and out, you feel me, but you realize that you might be going under some type of spiritual ascension and or psychotic episode, you know what I'm trying to say, you feel me? Find you a guy, okay, a highly in tune spiritual person who can walk you through that plane and help you come out on the other side as unscarred as possible. Okay, for me, I was lucky enough that spiritual guide just so happened to be my mama. Okay, that's me though. You feel me? When I was going and I went to talking out the side of my head, my mama was like, "Oh, I understand what you getting at." But there's still this you got to deal with if you decide to walk that way. Now, I ain't telling you you can't walk that way, but if you decide to walk that way, listen, this is what's going to happen. You feel me? For she had to walk down that way before she got her spiritual guide. You feel me? And sometimes that's just unfortunately the case. You feel me? But when you find yourself on that roller coaster of psychosis, spiritual ascension, where it's just kind of like you're not prepared to go, because it's typically that spiritual awakening for the spirituality side when this happens, like the worst for people. But in psychosis is there all the way. You feel me? Like psychosis, you really want to find somebody. You feel me? But yeah, like you need a guide. You need somebody to help you walk through that spiritual, you feel me, plane for the first time and make it through on the other side. You feel me? Like when I first was spiritual, I used to do like some like what do they call it now with the kids? Safe dangerous shit, like walking through the graveyard at night, knowing that I'm a very sensitive motherfucker to energies. You feel me? And like, I ain't even gonna lie to you. We'll have that conversation another day. But some crazy shit. Okay. But like, yeah, you gotta like, if you can't find the spirit guide, you feel me? Like, you feel me? That's the best way that you gonna be able to like, you feel me? Go through that. You're gonna have to ground yourself essentially, because that's all that the spirit, that's all that the guide is doing. Even in psychosis, all your doctor is there to do is just to ground you onto earth. They're there to help you understand how you got there, so you can understand how you can get back to where the fuck you came from. I.e., they're grounding you to the position that you were at prior to this situation, so that they can help you walk out of that motherfucker. Okay, and that's just the best way that they can do it as a doctor. However, if your spirit guide knows you, because like this lady has watched her. Okay, you cash your check here in a small town like that. You feel me? I live in Fort Pierce, so a small town like that, everybody know. Like the person you go see every Friday, yeah, you're on their schedule. You feel me? They know you finna come in there every Friday, nigga. Y'all get to know each other. Oh, how your week been this week? You feel me? Like I ain't seen you since last Friday. Like of course, you feel me? So she knew the lady to a good depth of, you feel me? Like, okay, I understand exactly what's going on. I mean, I might can't like full on say like, yeah, I know this lady, you feel me? I can walk with her, but at the same time, hey, listen, this my people, we the same color. I can relate to her in a way that these people can't relate to her. Let me try to help her get through this. And that's all, sometimes that's all it takes. And you feel me? That's why I take the approach of a street sage. You know what I mean? Like that's just the ability that I have, and that's why I can see it from that light stone. And once you see it from that light, you'll never be able to see it another way. You feel me? But yeah, you feel me? That's really all I wanted to share with y'all. You feel me? I did a little blabbering today, but it be like that sometimes. The, the difference between goddamn psychosis and spiritual awakening. You feel me? We talked about what psychosis was, talked about what spirituality is, you feel me? The aspect of becoming one and ego death. And then on top of that, we talked about the blurred lines between the two. You feel me? We did a little synopsis on Straw. You feel me? Breaking down her psychosis moment and her spiritual ascension moment in one. You feel me? Like it's crazy the depths of this shit, because you gotta understand, like, you feel me, like when when I came to my spiritual awakening moment and realized that time didn't exist, you have to understand, like that made me realize that time was non-linear. Like time is non-linear. That means that everything that has happened to you has already fucking happened to you. If that's the case, then ain't shit you can motherfucking do about this shit. All you can do is ride this wave and understand why the fuck it's happening. Okay, if that be the case, nigga, if that be the case, then I'm gonna sit back, relax, and I'm gonna enjoy this goddamn ride. Okay. Ain't nothing you can do about it. It already happened. It's already gonna happen. It's already done happen, and it's already to happen. Like that's just how it works. I mean, if you understand, you understand. If you can't, you just ain't. Okay, but that's the way to cook from. Anyway, I'm hot, so like I was saying, you feel me? We talked about what psychosis was. We talked about what spiritual ascension was. We talked about the thin line between the two and how the lines between the two can blur. And the most important factor that we talked about is is how to ground yourself when you're undergoing this stressful and beautiful building situation called psychosis and or spiritual ascension. It all depends on what side of the spectrum you fall on, and that is to find a guide. That guide can be a doctor, it can be a therapist, it can be a family member, it can be a stranger on the street. And that's when you have to get into, which is for a later video, discernment. Okay, the ability to discern between the two. Okay, that being said, people, y'all have a blessed day. I hope I was able to help y'all, some of y'all in y'all battles in life. And yeah, till next time, Reeno the Street Sage, decoding life and spirit through laughs and lessons. Another episode of Decoded Depths completed. Catch y'all next time.
I'm back up in the fool. With my family, cool, we can't fool. Everybody getting money, getting